about you.
Listen, Doc. Doc.
Don't
Doc,
tell me anything.
Doc,
Quiet.
what the hell?
I'm going to read your thoughts. Let's see now. You come here from a great distance?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell me. You want me to buy a subscription to the Saturday Evening Post?
No.
Not a word, not a word, not a word now. Quiet. Donations. You want me to make a donation to the Coast Guard Youth Auxiliary?
Doc. I'm from the future. I came here in a time machine that you invented. Now I need your help to get back to the year 1985.
Do you know what this means? It means that this damn thing doesn't work at all.
Welcome back, everyone, to our channel. I'm Nikki.
I'm John.
And this is Nikki and John. Today we're going to talk about Back to the Future, 1985. Directed by Robert Zemeckis, writers Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. Cast includes Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover, and Tom Wilson. This has been a classic ever since I can remember.
Oh, absolutely. Since it came out, this movie has, I think, captivated audiences over the years. My kid is 8, and she loves this movie.
Yeah.
And she's been watching this movie since like 4 years old.
Right.
Because I introduced it to her at a very young age. I was introduced to it at a very young age, and I fell in love with this movie. I think just about anyone who watches this movie will tell you it's just a fun journey. It's a great, entertaining, right?
And there's lots of action in it everywhere, and those little quirks of comedy in there are what really keeps it together. It's like the glue that holds it.
Young Michael J. Fox being Marty, his character, he wakes up and he's on his way to school, but he stops in at his friend, old man friends. I don't know why they're friends. He realizes he has a ton of clocks in his place, realizes he's not there, not really sure why, but he gets a call from him and tells him that to meet him somewhere late that night. He goes and meets him at this mall parking lot, and his friend pulls out this DeLorean out the back of a truck that he turned into a time machine, and they tested it out with the dog, and it seemed to work. But because it runs on plutonium, the people that he basically stole the plutonium from, kill him and retrieve it back. Michael J. Fox's character ends up jumping in the car and traveling back to 1955. Luckily, his friend is alive in that time, but them together, they try to figure out how to get him back. But he screws up his own history by running into his mom as a teenager, and she, instead of falling in love with his dad, starts to fall for him, and then realizes, if this happens, I'm never going to exist. So he has to fix that while trying to get back to the future, and that's why we call it Back to the Future.
Golf clap? Golf clap.
But I mean, the actors are amazing in this. The script is so, a lot of people had pushed it away because of the whole incestual thing to do with this film. But I mean, it's kind of funny though. It's not like they do it, and when she kisses him, she realizes, ew.
Well, she says, it's like kissing my brother.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to, because he knows, but she doesn't know.
Right.
So it's not like it's an incest thing. It's just teenagers, but yet she doesn't realize that he's her future kid,
Right.
A lot of people probably deemed that kind of weird and stuff at the time, but once you watch the full narrative of the movie, it all makes sense. Like, it's not,
right.
They're not trying to be gross and disgusting about it. It's not a porno. Like,
right. Yeah, I loved, so like, the script is just so funny. It's the natural humor about this film that makes it, like I said, just holds it together. But the way that they nailed the 50s, like the guys that run out at the gas station and, wipe down the car, and the kid jumping on springs. Everything about it just took you right back to that time. And I thought they did such a good job with that. Like, that, you really felt like, wow, that a lot of work went into that. That looks great.
The costumes, the background, the design of everything, I thought really you felt like they were in the 50s, like, because you got to see that street in the 80s, and then he goes back and he's looking at the same street, but everything's a little different. You know, some stuff looks brand new when it would have looked old in the 80s, you know, like stuff like that. I think they did a really good job with. The chemistry between some of the characters just was really, really on point, you know.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that were asked to all three of the main characters during the year that the second movie takes place, we're not going to get into the second movie, but they did an on-TV interview, and they asked them, you know, what is some of the lines that people come up to you and say when you're on the street and stuff, when they see you out in public? And of course, Christopher Lloyd's was, roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. You know, that's one of the most famous lines, I believe, from that movie, from that franchise. So one of the things that Leah Thompson gets heard when she's, you know, walking down the street is, "You're my density."
My density has brought me to you. What?
Twice in the movie. He messes it up both times.
I know.
Michael J. Fox apparently gets Irish bug, which I believe is more from the third movie, I believe,
Yes.
or the second movie. I don't believe they even say that in the third movie or the first movie, but he gets that line a lot, and I guess
they
that's
do that in the first movie. Yeah. Yeah.
Where did-
As soon as Marty goes into the diner and he finds out it's his dad, and then the Biff opens the door, it's like,
What do you think
"Hey,
you're
I'm
doing?"
McFly. I'm talking to you, Irish bug."
Hey, I'm talking to you, McFly, you Irish bug.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That slipped past me then. Thompson, she had to get into character. She would sing Mr. Sandman, but she would do it in this like sexy toned voice.
You had plenty money, 1922.
Because she was trying to get into the time that the song came out, you know, that character wise, but also a horny teenager. So she would do it in like this sexy tone to get herself like ramped up to be in that time and be a horny kid at that time. And I just think that's really funny.
Yeah, I like that. That is funny.
Christopher Lloyd was really hesitant about doing the movie. He even threw the script in the garbage. I don't even think he gave it a full read before he threw it in the garbage. And then someone told him, like, you know, read the script. It's really good. He's like, oh, I guess so. So he pulled it out of the garbage and read it and fell in love with it.
Yeah, he wanted to go back to theater. He wanted to be on stage. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, anybody that is in this movie was just meant to be. Like, at first they wanted Michael J. Fox. They couldn't get him. Then they got him. Everything came full circle with this film because it really, the actors do make this film amazing.
If they were played by any other people, I don't think the movie would have done nearly as well as it has.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
Over 30 years later, and it's still like a cult classic, you know. Michael's actually 24 when he filmed this. He does look a lot younger, but he was also filming Family Ties at the same time. And the director of Family Ties is kind of what helped him get the role, because he wasn't sure if he could do it while being, you know, in the contract with Family Ties. The director made it so that they would be filming Family Ties from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then from, you know, however long it took Michael to get from that set to Back to the Future set, he'd be working till 2:30, maybe even 3 in the morning doing Back to the Future. But they made it work so that he could do both, because they knew that he was right for the role in the movie, but he still had his obligations to the TV show as well. So
Yeah.
And I mean, hats off to him to being able to do both and not looking that tired on screen. I gotta say, he did.
Right. This one I found out to be kind of interesting, and I never noticed it until I read this. When Lorraine follows Marty home to Doc's house, and he lets her in, Lorraine and Doc, they never speak. Not a word. They just, he glances at her and she walks in. I thought that was really weird. I'm like, wow, I never really noticed that. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Like, now that you say that, like, I'm looking back and when watching it last night, yeah, she kind of, he's hovering around the whole time, but doesn't say a word the entire scene.
Yeah.
It's all between Marty and Lorraine. Yeah.
Even though this film is considered funny, It's not considered a comedy outright. But all of the stuff in this film, the comedy holds this film together. And it's not exactly, people think, oh yeah, it's a comedy, it's funny, but it's all just natural reactions. And I didn't know that either, because I was like, it's jokes, but it's just however, like when Doc lights the drapery on fire, he's like, oh, like that is so, yeah.
Yeah.
Or when he
just
opens the
reactional view of it, but it's funny to us as a viewer.
Right.
But if you were in the situation, that wouldn't be funny.
Well, no, I mean, it's funny because that's your natural reaction. Marty's like, what the hell is a gigawatt? Like, that's funny. Like, but you would do that naturally. Yes. This script was rejected 40 times, approximately 40 times, by so many production companies and whatnot. Even Disney rejected it because of the incestual innuendo.
I remember reading that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see this being even close to a Disney movie, even though they are in Universal. And there is a ride in Universal Studios, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, we're going to break open the Eric Stoltz thing. Eric Stoltz.
Okay.
Everybody knows that he had 5 weeks worth of shooting. He was cut, not because there was a riff or anything like that. He just wasn't right for the part. He was a little too serious. When they were at a table read and they actually read through the script for the first time, everybody laughed. And then Eric had said, this is a complete tragedy. How could you guys think this is funny? And he killed the room dead.
Yeah. Destroyed the whole momentum. Like,
well, that, and he wanted to be called Marty even off the set. He was like over method. Yeah. He grew out his fingernails long because rock and roll guitarists have long fingernails. Whatever. Yeah. Whatever. But this one I thought was really like funny because I would have loved to have Biff get his revenge on him. Okay. The scene where Biff and Marty are in the lunchroom and are about to fight. When Eric and Tom had filmed it, he's like a real serious guy. He got really into it. He would keep pushing and shoving and like really be aggressive on Tom. He ended up with black and blue marks all over him because he was just like, dude, tone it down. But he just kept going.
Right.
Now, this is the kicker. This is what I love. And he walks off set. Tom, who plays Biff, he walks off set and goes, that's all right. I get to kick that kid's ass like by the car anyway later on, whatever. So he's like, I'll finally get my revenge on him. Eric quit before he could get his revenge on him, or Eric got released before he. Eric has already been released, and sorry, Biff, you lose.
Yeah. And to like comment on the Eric thing, I think when he said like, oh, this movie's a tragedy, because he took the ending as such a different way than everyone else did. He took it as, now you have this 17-year-old kid who comes back to find he has a better life. His parents are better, his nicer home, whatever, what have you. Yeah, he has a better life, but he has no memory of it. And that's why he thought it was a tragic story. I'm like, cares if he has a memory of it? He came back to a better life. He has the memory of what he has, and that's fine. He knows what it was like to be the poor crap family, and now he's coming into a nice fit, like,
But see, that's the same thing. It was the same thing with the whole Crispin Glover thing. These actors that go against, I would never want to be like, oh my God, why are you doing this? This doesn't make any sense. This is ridiculous. If you don't agree with it, walk the fuck off then. It's
a movie. Like, it's a story. It's already written. Like, just accept it. Like,
I mean, it's okay for, actors to give their opinions and how they feel and stuff. But if you're going to make it like a hell to work with every day of shooting, why bother?
Instead of being a fun experience, they're all like, I can't wait for today to be over.
That's what I'm saying. And he had things with the script. So, I mean, exactly. What do you want Marty to do? Go back to his shitty life of an alcoholic mother who's unhappy?
Right?
They're better now. That's the thing. I get where he's coming from.
But Michael's character would be more humble because he knows how his life could have gone. Exactly. And now he's stepped into a better life. So I think it's an actual happy, great ending when you look at it in that aspect, in which he obviously did not look at it like that.
Well, that's how you're supposed to look at it.
Right, yeah.
Just went. But, I mean, I really like Eric Stoltz. He's a great actor. But now that I think about it, I have seen him in more serious roles. And I guess he just does that thing. But
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
whatever. The whole thing with that, it's everywhere. It's always a hot topic. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
It's still a little interesting,
Well, he
to
was a
see how
big
the
part of the
movie could have
production.
gone.
Yeah, he was a big part of the production in the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, I guess a little segue from that, I do remember Michael saying, we walked on, obviously everyone was established, the characters were already there, they had already filmed a lot, but him and Christopher Lloyd, day one, just instantly hit it off.
Yeah.
Chemistry was great, and they quickly, made up for the lost time of filming those scenes already and filming them again. And I think everyone was really happy to have Michael J. Fox there because that's who they wanted originally, like you said before, and it all worked out in the end. So
it's funny. There is a rumor when in the diner scene when George is like trying to hit on Lorraine and Marty's in his like 50s clothes and he goes and punches Biff. Apparently that punch, that side punch, like the side of Marty is supposed to be Eric Stoltz.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That it's rumored to be him. And if you slow it down, it's like, I don't know, maybe. I mean, you really can't tell, but yeah. It's rumored to be that's one of his clips that he shot. Lorraine's 47-year-old makeup look, it took 3 hours plus to get that shit right. I mean, she's like, you have to come in, you have to sit, and it doesn't work, melts here or whatever, and you have to fix it. And it's like, oh my gosh. It didn't look like it was that much, but I'm like, man.
But to think that the same actress,
yeah,
she does look, I mean, obviously the younger look is probably her current look at the time. And to see her as the mom when she slaps that cake down, you almost think it's a different actress playing her. You don't even, like, I mean, as a kid, I don't think I ever realized it was the same actress. I
was good at picking my actors out.
I assumed they looked so similar that they did a good job at placing that, but it wasn't until the second movie that I knew that they're using the same actors for different characters and aging them and stuff. But that's for the second movie. So
I mean, this is just my thing. I always find weird things in movies. This is a possible blip flaw, maybe, that nobody else thought of but me. I was watching it the other day and I'm like, okay, they have the dog Einstein, Doc Brown's dog Einstein, who they use as a test dummy to test out the time machine. Okay.
Right.
The dog is obviously a good age, not old, but old enough.
He's probably like at least 8 or 9,
Well, you go back to 1955 when Marty knocks on Doc's door for the first time and he goes over to the machine and he unhooks the little puppy. 1955 to 1985. That dog would have been shriveled up and gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't say that it's Einstein that he's unhooking, but they made him the prop and project of the time travel. So
right.
why would they even have that scene in there when he unhooks the dog if it wasn't him?
And we had talked about this yesterday, and I think the only thing I can come up with for it is that Doc Brown just likes to have a dog around, but the same type of dog at all times. So I guess when one passes away, like I had mentioned yesterday, maybe he called that dog Edison or Tesla or something.
Right,
and
right.
Then the dog was Einstein. Maybe there was a dog before that one.
They could have just not have him unhook the dog. They could have just not had that.
It's confusing to a viewer because, especially where they don't say the name of the dog, it then makes no sense. And if they did say Einstein, well, then you instantly stab yourself in the foot because there's no dog that's going to last 30 years. Sometimes
actors get to take home little remnants of the set or pieces of clothing. Leah Thompson has her... She has her fake boobs from the second one. Why she has those, I don't know. But she has her pink prom dress from the first movie.
Oh my God, really?
I thought that was so cool. She got to keep it. I know Doc Christopher Lloyd, he has one of Doc's shirts, but he didn't specify. And usually when I see Christopher Lloyd in interviews, he's very quiet, very shy, very timid. Bob Zemeckis came up with the idea of this film by looking through an old yearbook of his father's. They went to the same high school, and he was looking through it, and he's like, would I be friends with my dad if I was back in that day?
Yeah, right. I was actually in the same school that my dad went to, and they had all the graduation photos on the walls, and I found my dad's. And I mean, I graduated in like 2002, and he graduated in like 1950 something, like 55, 54, I don't know, 56, and around there. Anyway, I found his photo, and I looked at it and realized, yeah, me and my dad look almost exactly alike. No wonder I get that all the time from anyone that has gone to school with my dad and comes up to me and goes, I know who your father is. I'm like, oh, God, here we go.
It's written all over your face.
I totally get that, being in the same high school that, you know, your parents went to. I had the luxury of having that happen for me. So
after Romancing the Stone, which was a very popular film that Zemeckis did, Back to the Future got picked up. Because of the success from that film, that's the reason they picked it. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Either you like it or you don't. But hey, we still have a masterpiece. So the brother and sister of Marty, they were in a movie before this called I Want to Hold Your Hand, which was based around the whole Beatlemania thing. And I remember the sister, because she was so funny. I think she rolls out of a car in the middle of the street or something, but it was one of the cutest. Like, the Beatles weren't in it. You could tell it was just like fakes or whatever, but it was cute. And I remembered it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They did work together. I didn't remember it until I read that. With this whole Crispin Glover thing. Now, there has been a lawsuit throughout it because they used his likeness in the second without his permission.
Yeah.
Crispin and Bob had words and just disagreements on the first one anyway. I think there was a lawsuit involved, but you really couldn't find too much on it specifically, except for, I guess, what I just summed it up to be. I found it to be, number one, brave of Crispin to fight back on a director, writer, whatever. I mean, like I said, if you don't like it, just walk.
Yeah.
But apparently there is commentary where Bob Zemeckis lies about Crispin Glover. Something like, oh, he wanted to wear these pants or this pant, or maybe it was like the broom thing. It was one of their little tiffs that they had. And he's like, nope, that's a straight up lie. That never happened. Or I didn't do it like that. And I'm like, oh my God. You get nitpicky after a while because you want to be so perfect at your craft and what you want to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're going under the wing of somebody else.
I mean, also, when was this commentary made? Like 20 years later? Like, do they actually remember the details of that filming day of that exact scene? Like, who's right, who's wrong? We don't know.
Yeah.
You know, but I do know that he, like, during one scene outside with Michael J. Fox and these Marty's trying to tell him, you know, you got to do this and go ask.
He's hanging up the laundry.
And he's hanging up the laundry, and he kept on walking out of frame. And so they had to box him in and said, stay in the box so that we can film it. Because he kept on like walking too far back and forth and going out of frame so often. And they're like, we need you in the shot. You need to stay here. So they literally built a little box and said, don't go out of the box. And like, almost like saying like a dog, like, stay, like, you know, like he was right. I guess he was just difficult to work with. And I mean, I guess with the lawsuit and everything, it proves that, yeah, he probably was.
There is 3 different cars for the filming of this movie. One of them was when they were driving. One of them was when they're in the vehicle, a shot of all the stuff in the vehicle. And one of them, or the last one, was the time travel and, you know, the dashboard kind of thing.
Right.
And it's funny because I remember watching like bloopers and stuff. Michael J. Fox was like, man, that was so tight in there. And you try to do the stick shift thing. And we only had 2 gears. It was hard to drive. And I kept punching my knuckles into the time, the time to change thing. And he's like, man, it would piss me off then. This thing would fall off. This one is definitely one that I like to. I mean, I've seen it so many times on cable. They'll play 1, 2, and 3, and then once they'll start it all over again once the third one's done. And I've sat there and watched it because it's just, I don't know, it's so cool, and I love them so much. 4.8 for me.
4.8. Wow, that's huge.
I mean, it really holds like, oh, and it's so well done with the actors, and it's just so memorable, and you get those one-liners that you bring into your everyday life, and it's I just really love it. I do.
Yeah, like, whoa, McFly! Anybody home, McFly? I think about this movie probably once a month, and yeah, like you said, like it's a movie that you can watch over and over and over again. So I, again, like just like last week, I gave that a big number because that's a movie I could watch over and over again. But this being not a superhero movie, but still sci-fi. But I'm gonna give it a 4.7.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very nostalgic to me, and I can continuously watch this all the time. And it's something that my daughter loves for me to pop in and watch with her as well.
Right. So
yeah.
Next week we are going to tackle another. What's this? Is this Marvel?
Marvel, another MCU movie.
We're going to be tackling Captain America: Civil War. Did I get that right?
Yes, Civil War. Yeah.
If you have not already, watch our TikTok with all of our bloopers.
Yes.
We have more blooper footage than we do. We have so much blooper footage, and it's comical. At least we think so, how I edit it. So
yes. And you can find us on Instagram as well. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give us a comment. You know? Come on.
Let us know what you would like us to review. Have a conversation. Fluffy talk. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Baby.